Week 3, and 4 overview. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the pod. And today we have a little bit of a different crew today. We've got the Comeback, who's a classic, the Hellion, who is up on the rise, and then we got the bottom two here, Triple D and Jonathan Trader. So we've got a diverse range here, and Cam's pretty high up. So let's start with Cam. We'll go to the Hellion, and then we'll go to Triple D here. So Cam, what do you have to say before we get started?
It was rough to watch my game fall apart, needing one field goal to win, and the Eagles decided to go for it on fourth down on Monday night. But it happens to the best of us. Looking forward to my matchup against is Derek, right? Coming up here this week. Mr. Strong, 11th place, looking to rise up. So we'll see how it goes.
You're always an easy win on my schedule, so.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Lorenz, what do you have to say for us?
I was enjoying the undefeated route. I was pretty hyped, and then it was a sorry look this morning when I saw that I dropped down to 7th. But I think I made the right decision. I think I made some moves that will put me back on top. Because the team always rises to the top.
Okay. And something controversial has happened in the league, and it's the first time that has ever happened, so it deserves a pod. So we're going to get into that a little bit more today. And then we got Triple D. Are you a Triple Champ? I mean, what's happening? Like, there's a lot that's going on. I look at your team, and I'm just concerned. What do you have to say?
I don't know. I scored more points than you last week, so I don't know why you're so concerned.
All right,
Here's
low
what I'll
blow.
say. Started off rough, right? Had a few guys, had to make some waivers, spend some of that fab, spent the most fab. But look, 60 week 1, 80 week 2, 106 week 3. So I'm heading in the right direction.
Okay.
Some of y'all need to figure that one out. Game of the week winner won a couple people some money. So got some fans out there.
I'm yet to be paid, by the way, treasurer. So I'm looking for my payment on that. But that is to be seen. He's at a Hurricanes game today. But let's get started into the week. We're going to go quickly through these, but just a quick injury updates. Cam, walk us through this. What are we looking through here? I know you've been tracking this on your analyst. If you need to phone a friend, please feel free. But jump in here. What are we looking through?
Yeah, so we got Nick Chubb. It looked rough. The side image, if you saw the replay, looked like his knee was destroyed. Supposedly it's just a torn MCL, which, I mean, it's still season ending, and the best case scenario they said is like it's not career ending. Mike Williams, torn ACL. I think it's his second torn ACL, so it's going to be tough for him. Derek Carr's shoulder, he's week to week, but it's one of those injuries that I could definitely see him just ending up on the IR. Even still. And then Anthony Richardson, concussion, supposed to be back at practice this week, so hopefully we'll see him back soon. But those are the main ones. There's lots of smaller ones, a lot of defensive injuries too.
Yeah. So this, obviously, I mean, the things that come to my mind is, obviously, we saw how Ford went down. I mean, I think I put $52 on Ford. And for me, I really thought that was an opportunity for Dan to spend some of that fab and really claim his running back. But of course, I think he bid like $20 fab max on Ford. I want to say.
I know we'll talk about this more, but the real question is, does Dan know how fab works?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a fair question.
Yeah, it is. It is a good question, and Dan is relatively salty, so this is really just putting some salt in the wound right now. Mike Williams being out, obviously, Keenan Allen is already getting a lot of touches, but I think that gives an opportunity to some other wide receivers on the Chargers to get some additional points. And then this is interesting because, I have Chris Olave, just been trash this season so far. I mean, not awful, but just obviously Derek Carr and him haven't connected. But the question is, if Jameis Winston comes in, does that give an opportunity for some more points? I don't know. And then we got Minshew Magic, which Derek used to be a fan of the Minshew Magic. He's kind of been stepping up into the role, and he got a W over the Ravens. So, maybe that's a
controversial W, by the way.
Hey, well, we take what we can
pass
take.
Interference call was, it was something else.
We don't question the Colts on this podcast, Derek. That's not the right pod, okay? So So here's where we go into next, right? And this is where I really think we should take some time. We've got someone who, on the call, and then Lorenz, I want you to jump in whenever you want, but we got someone on the call who's actually was working through a power rankings. So I'd be interested to see, are the league rankings accurate? And do we need to take a quick look at the team? So I'll walk down these, and then Derek, I want to get your opinion on where is it right, where is it wrong? Is there a chance for the two people at the bottom? So we got number one, we got the Gambler, which by the way was a heavy favorite as we kind of came into things. We've all kind of expected Jared to do pretty well, and he had a slide upside beat against me to hold number one spot and put me in 0-3, right? So then we got Dope Panic. Maybe one of the most toxic players in the league. We're going to discuss that more. But yes, he continues his dominance. He continues to put his foot on the people in last place and show no mercy. We got Nameless Malice, which, by the way, won his game without Jalen Waddle. Didn't even have a wide receiver. I mean, Miami is just insane. And then Cam is snuck his way into a top 4. I mean, Cam's team is looking really solid. We need to take a quick look at that. Angel, Zach always does pretty consistent. And then somehow Danimal, and I want to touch on this because he has snuck his way into 2 wins somehow. His team is all injured, and he has a bunch of people. If they come back, his team could look potentially really good. I mean, he has Christian Watson, he has Cooper Kupp, all, who are going to come back off injury. I mean, there's a lot of potential to be had there. And then we got Mr. Lorenzo himself, Mr. Randy Savage. He's number 7. I think Lorenzo's team looks pretty solid. So there's definitely some potential there. Dad, Pickett's charge. There's some areas that could be fixed on Dad's team, but again, he's doing pretty well. And then we start to get into kind of the bottom tier here. Unfortunately, Daddy's team suffered the Mike Williams. I think that was him. ACL. So that's really bad. I know he's looking for some wide receivers in the league that no one wants to trade efficiently. And then you've got Madison, who has some potential, and then Derek, who's kind of had his challenges as well with some changes, but had made a lot of changes. And then myself, who I think I've probably done the most on the waiver wire, and probably with the recent trade that we'll talk about, probably have scrambled a lot with the team. So Derek, turn it over to you. I mean, what do you think? Like, when you look at these rankings, are these accurate or?
No, I mean, the divisions themselves, I feel like, have very different outcomes. When I look at them, there's one division that really stands out, and I think they're going to absolutely dominate in this middle now that we're stepping away from the divisional team. So everyone in that division, I think, is going to either stay high where they're at or go up a rank or 2. So that's the free wins for Dwayne division. One, I think in that division, I think Corey's got a decent team there. Auto draft has kind of worked out for him because everyone he auto drafted didn't get hurt. But then, Lorenz, I'm on the hype train. I think out of all 4, you've got potential, but I could see you kind of going back and forth on the wins and loss column. But here's what I'm going to call out. I don't think Dad or Bowser's team should be 8th or 9th. I think they're going to do really well. Because if you look at Bowser's losses, I mean, look at his loss week 2. He scored 104 and lost to 144 by Dad. When you look at week 1, he lost 93-93, close game. And then he came out and scored 141. So his losses are 93 points and 104 points. I mean, those aren't bad losses. Those are what it won games in other divisions. Sadly, the Dub Club over here is kind of the weakest division. I don't see Dan continuing to do well. I think he's spent 0 fab. He's had some rough injuries, and his bench, I mean, he got a good win off of me when I scored like 60 points and he scored like 70 something or 80 something. So, Cooper Kupp's not really going to come back. Breda is going to take a back seat once Saquon's back. I mean, Sutton's never done things historically. And then he's got Nico Collins, who's already losing out to Tank Dell. And, it's what's there. Madison hasn't been heading in the right direction. He's coming out 1-2. I'm coming out 1-2. I'm trying to head in the right direction, but I'm already starting out at a negative. So I don't think anyone in our division outside of Uncle Joe's really looking strong there.
Well-
Cam, Zach, Gabe, I think it's a toss-up, right? Gabe, I see you making all the moves. You're still kind of lowest points for, outside of me. So I think you just got to prove yourself now, kind of the prove it or lose it situation. And then I think, Cam, you're kind of hit or miss week to week, man. I mean, AJ Brown, B Robinson, R Stevenson, like Mark Andrews, you have the most hit or miss team in the league. So I don't see you being consistent, but I think you'll win as much as you'll lose. So that's my call outs.
What do you think, Matt? Anything to add into that? I mean, you kind of listening here, kind of looking over the teams. What are you thinking?
I think that's a fair assessment. I think there's a lot happening at the beginning of the season, especially with key injuries and even people like Corey who auto drafted doing better than I think anybody expected. I hope that even what I did is moving in the right direction. And Derek, I think that's a fair assessment, which is why I like playing the bold, crazy moves. I will go on record and say that I think I'm free of relegation this year. So I want to try and go big and just take a shot at the championship here. If you ain't trying, I mean, what's the point?
So I have a question for the group. Is Corey's team this year the exact same team that Madison had the year he drafted 3 Cowboys and it was like 50 points each or 0 points each? Because he's got 3 Miami players and that's the bulk of his points. I mean, he's not going to get anything from Baker Mayfield or Daniel Jones. So the reason he did well is because of that Miami blowout. So is he as dependent as Madison was on the Cowboys year, or is he different?
I see it being the same. I see him having trouble when the weather starts to cool down, when they have to start playing in different places. I think late in the season when these offenses slow down and the defenses pick it up, it's going to be a much different ending to the season for him.
So is he a week to week?
Enjoy September and October, Corey.
Oh, yeah, I agree on that. But I do want to highlight one thing, and I hate to say this, and I hate to give him any props, but guys, I got to be honest with you. I disagree on Dan. I mean, this dude has somehow gotten 2 easy wins when half his team was out. And again, Christian Watson just came back in. And not to mention, we've completely forgot about Kamara. Kamara is coming back, which I don't know how washed Kamara is, but Kamara is back. And if Cooper Kupp does come back, like, this is going to be a pretty good team. I mean, dude, and can we just talk about how annoying Houston's wide receivers are? Like, Derek, you're on that train too. Like, what the heck? Houston's wide receivers are like top fantasy players. It's really pissing me off. It makes zero sense, but
I'm on the CJ Stroud hype train. I think he looks really good.
I don't get it. I don't get it, but
he's the only rookie QB who has a decent O-line.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but I gotta say, I mean, guys, Dan, as much crap as we want to sit here and talk about Dan just is basically just got 2 starting players on his team, and if Cooper Kupp does come back relatively soon, I mean, dude, Dan could be like really freaking good. I mean, he definitely needs a running back, and I mean, Dameon Pierce, I don't know, maybe he's fine. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Do you think the Jordan Love, Christian Watson will hold up? I mean, that O-line and that team is pretty rough on offense. I mean, they're averaging like 16 points a game.
I feel like Jordan Love is like, they kind of like copy and pasted like Aaron Rodgers in a way. They're very similar. Their play styles are like very interesting. And I mean, I don't know, man. He could be in a good spot. And then Philly defense, not to mention, I mean, that's really strong. Their offense hasn't been amazing. Cam can attest to that, but he definitely needs to make a move for some running back depth. And I think I'll stand by it. I really think the picking up Ford, it's going to come back to bite him a little bit, right? If there is an injury or a bye week, he has no running back depth. I mean, I don't know. And it really depends on Kamara, right? If Kamara comes out and he's normal Kamara, he's going to be looking good. But, dude, running backs are so hit or miss. I mean, should we even talk about Najee right now? One of the slowest running backs in the league. I mean, dude looks
he's
not
sitting the
good.
bench this week. Pacheco's in, which Pacheco's looking good.
Pacheco does look good. But yeah, man, it's been a weird running back year to say the least. I mean, Swift is like an RB1 right now? I don't even know. It's like it's dude did terribly on Detroit, but I mean, you got teams like.
It's
Go
not been
ahead.
a good year for the RBs. I thought about comparing Najee to every single team has at least one RB1 right now who is scoring equal to or less than Najee. I mean, we're all looking at Najee and he's like, he's not doing great. But if you actually look at his 7-point average, 6-point average, everybody else has at least one RB they're starting right now that's averaging 6 points. It's not the year of the running back.
Some of us have 5 to 6 running backs that need to be traded. Just sitting on their benches. But hey, that's another story to be told.
I looked at making you a deal because I was like, I need to fix my RB situation, and none of them are outscoring Najee. So I don't know what your value is.
There's been a lot of
dude.
points left on the bench this year.
There has, and I was looking. I mean, really, even looking at wide receivers. I mean, some of the wide receivers that were drafted really late, like the Keenan Allens and other situations, are top wide receivers, and then these Houston wide receivers. I mean, it's been a weird 3 weeks so far, but yeah. I mean, anything to add, Cam, about Dan's team or Matt before we move on? You're on mute, Cam, if you're talking.
No, not really. We'll see with Dan's team, but the odds that all these players hit, not blowing it.
I don't see how someone's strategy could be, I'm just going to hold on to these players when they show up. That doesn't sound like a triple champ kind of play right there. And I think Derek can attest to that. That doesn't sound like a triple champ thing.
It's true.
Proactive,
that sounds
not
like a relegation,
right? Isn't that what they always say? Be proactive, not reactive.
All right. Well, let's move. For the instance of time, let's move along to the remaining budget, which, by the way, is interesting because if I go to slide, let me see if I can get there. If we go to remaining budget, Cam still has $100 somehow. I mean, what is happening, Cam? Like, this is a new reformed Cowmish. He's reformed. He's been holding on. So, are we going to see that change this week? Is it to be held? Is it a secret, or?
Fab has to be spent at some point, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well,
how much for Devon Aiken?
Devon Achane, I think we're gonna see. I think we've seen some big bids so far, so we'll see what happens.
So the biggest bid has been 52 on Ford, which is what I dropped last week. We didn't include that, but 52 on Ford. The second highest bid, just so everyone knows, was Corey at 51. So literally missed out on Ford by a point. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. I'll say good props to myself. But do you think we could see a higher bid than 52 this week, Cam? I mean, there's still a good amount of grain on the board here.
So the players we got Uncle Joe with 98. Never know with him. Danimal with 90. He might spend 10. That's the most we've seen him spend so far. Dad with 100. He's also a wild card. Bowser 85. I don't see him spending. Corey at 77 is interesting. Corey's the type of guy I can see him dropping all 77. I can see him dropping nothing. And then Jared, I think, will make a hefty bid with his 56. We'll see.
So something interesting that I want to point out, and you might have caught it on, and you might have noticed this in the league, but I had $13 before today, and you'll notice Lorenz is at 10. So Lorenz, what happened here? Do you want to talk about this trade? What the discussion was? What the thought process was?
I mean, I think Derek said it perfectly. You have to be proactive, and I think I made the right trade with you. It's just fab money, and I'm gunning for the championship this year. So felt like I needed those two players that keep me on top. I think I'll take a few losses here and there, but overall, I think it was the right decision. I also think it was a great first time to, try out the whole trading fab. I don't think we've done that yet, to my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but
first fab trade ever was committed by me and Lorenz. I mean, it's pretty dynamic. It definitely changes things, right? Because everyone thought I was out of the game when it came to fab, and I picked up Ford, and now I have the opportunity to pick up some more players, and it kind of puts me back in the game in some instance. And Lorenz kind of fills out his team in the areas that he needs. I mean, this is a whole new dynamic when it comes to trading. I mean, you could just trade a player just for fab. I mean, you really, it's getting kind of crazy. I mean, what do you think, Cam? I mean, as the commish, when you saw this come across the board and the analysts were heads were on fire, what did you have to do? Did you have to take a step in and tell them it's all going to be okay and shake them like a baby? I mean, what happened, Cam?
No, I mean, I'm always excited whenever I see the yearly Lorenz trade come through. I never know who it's going to be with or how it's going to happen. A little early this year, but very exciting. When Gabe hit me up, I actually think I hit Gabe up first, asking some questions, and Gabe was like, "Well, actually, some things might change," and I was like, "Oh, say so." And so, yeah, big trade. I was very interested to see the fab go back and forth. So it's a big chunk of fab getting moved, and Gabe's a player again in the free agent market. So very exciting, and there's more to be said about this for the next point, but that's all I'll say for right now.
This felt like trading those dollar mystery bags from Dollar General. Like maybe one of these bags could be good with the toy that you really want. Maybe the other one could have those hard candies that grandma passes out. Like I feel like all y'all did was trade where your chips were on the roulette table. I mean, I really did, because neither one of these guys have done much, if anything. And so it's just like, who's gonna hit? I mean, this felt like the ultimate trading of hands in poker before either of you had looked at the hands. So yeah, very
Well,
interesting trade.
I mean, Gabe, you what was your disposition to Hall at first? You didn't think he was going to do much, and then it turned out really well. You even admitted on the podcast, and now he's in your court, man.
It's always a risk with the Jets. They're very. I mean, I believe in Hall. I don't believe in the Jets franchise, but I'm willing to take that risk, and I have the running back depth to take that risk, right? If I needed to. So, I think the combination of everything in the fab was a great play. And then, guys, you guys are forgetting about the Lorenz effect. Madison and Marquise Brown are going to be some of the hottest players for the next 3 weeks. It's just bound to happen. Any player that Matt trades just significantly pops off, and the player that he trades away does terribly. And I'm willing to take that effect with the 90 fab. I understand that risk. So I'm really curious to see, Madison just start to drop 2 to 3 touchdowns, and then Marquise Brown just pop off for some reason. So, let's move on to the next point, because I think this is important. Someone's not happy about this trade, and it's the same person who's consistently complaining about the trade, because Cam said it best one time, because Dan wants to be traded to, and he's not willing to put up a good trade. And I think that is what all the fundamental problem is. He does not want to give anyone equal to equal value. If it was a monopoly board, he'd be trouncing the Browns for freaking Boardwalk. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I don't know. I mean, where do we start with this? I mean, maybe Matt, was pissing Dan off part of the experience in this trade? Do you think that's kind of what helped push this trade through?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was probably worth the $90 right there. I mean, the player trading, perfectly fine. I think that was a fair trade. It was the $90 to just stick it to Dan, just to piss Dan off.
Cam, I think Cam, can we share any of the internal texts that have gone around? Is there anything that we can share that's off record, or?
Well, there's nothing internal text that we'll talk about. Well, let's go over the public messages. So first of all, we've got the wow. Was it pity from Lorenz, shrewd conniving from Gabe, or just classic Lorenz fantasy move that seems very dumb, but will somehow get him into the playoffs? I'm sure there's been a lot more said behind the scenes, more than I even know. I think, Gabe said it best. Dan's the sort of guy that's really, really, really wanting somebody to come to him with a ridiculous offer that totally benefits him and is just painful to the other person. He's been really wanting this sort of deal to come to him, and we all know it's never going to happen. And I think that's mainly where the rage on Dan's end comes from.
Okay, and I mean, guys, let's talk about this, because, man, this league does not trade well. Like, that's the problem with this league, and maybe that's some of the area that we need to go through. I mean, when you think of people to trade with, who comes to the top of your mind? I mean, who are the people? I feel like me and Lorenz have our yearly deal that we work through, and we help each other out. But it's hard to work with other people. I mean, Cam, Derek, is there anything that you want to chime in on this? Like, who do you feel like you can actually, if we go back a couple slides, let's look at the team as a whole. You know, who do you think you could trade from this list? And obviously, it sounds like Dan's definitely not on the other side of that. I mean, what do you think?
So you got there's 3 types of people in this league, right? You've got the traders, which I would classify Lorenz and Gabe in that group. Corey, I think, tries to trade, though he's not always the easiest to work with, but he tries. And then you've got the AFKs, right? You've got Dad, you've got Zach, you've got Bowser. And those guys are just not going to do anything. Like, they're not even going to see the message. So that's group number 2. And then you've got the goblins, right? The ones who just want to hoard gold and give you absolutely nothing. And Madison and Dan, and I'm gonna throw them in there, Uncle Joe. It's really the Dub Club. The Dub Club is a conniving. They wear it like they're like Slytherin and Harry Potter, right? I mean, they're just so yeah. Those are the 3 groups, and I think Cam, you kind of float around. I mean, sometimes you want to trade, sometimes you don't. But those are really kind of the staples to those groups, right?
Well, Cam was the relegation trade on Stafford. I want to put that in there. Cam put the nail on the coffin with Stafford last year.
I will say last year's trades worked out in my favor pretty good. But
I think we both didn't we, Cam? Didn't I actually trade him somebody as well?
Josh Jacobs for Johan Dotson, I think, last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, Derek. Fantastic analysis. I would say, yeah, if we had a trade power rankings, I would say honestly, Jared's a pretty good trader. I would say you've got the guys who say, the optimists who say, let me think about it, let me look. You know, that's tough. Those are like the Jareds, the Gabes, the Lorenzes, right? AFK I think is perfect for the group of guys who are like not going to respond. Madison, I'll give him some credit. Madison definitely thinks through some trades, right? I would say the lowest tier of trading are the people who say, let me watch these guys for 2 more weeks.
Corey. That's Corey.
That's the Dans, right? Those are the guys who they need to make sure that somehow this trade absolutely benefits them and absolutely hurts you. They got to wait to see if these guys pan out, which is not how trading works, right? The element of risk is supposed to be equal on both sides. And so, yeah, I think Derek hit the nail on the head. There's then the group who thinks that you're supposed to have a trade tax somehow that benefits them. So.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect analogy. Great job on that. I love the AFKs and the goblins. What do you got to say?
I'll have to give a shout out to Madison and Uncle Joe. So with Madison, you know, I at least appreciate the interaction. He makes it fun. He makes it fun to at least talk trades. And Uncle Joe, I've talked with him a couple times, you know, the past few years, and we've tried to work some stuff out. I think he's a smart trader. I don't think he takes risks or anything like that.
He's a greedy boy, Lorenz. He's a greedy boy.
Yeah, I'll add to me and Zach were possibly discussing one of we almost moved him out of the AFK section. He started grabbing the controller and picking up the play, and we almost had a really crazy trade discussion. But I think it fell through. It would have been a pretty big shakeup, but hopefully we can see one of those later on in the year as things get more dicey. But I want to move on.
Bigger than 90 fab.
That was a pretty crazy trade. That's probably going to go down in the history books. But it was a crazy trade to say the least. But I wrote down a couple overview points here, and I want to go through these, and I want anyone to jump in on these. If there's something you feel strongly that you want to talk about, I have one that I want to talk about. It's the first one. And is Uncle Joe toxic in his fantasy luck? I mean, man, listen, I understand being the league villain and doubling down, but man, I feel like Uncle Joe has been particularly rancid lately. I mean, pointing out the 0-3 factor and just doubling down. And fantasy's not luck, it's all skill. Hey Dan, sorry your team's all injured. That's all skill based because you didn't predict Nick Chubb to tear his MCL and blow out his knee. I mean, come on, guys. Is fantasy really skill? I mean, yes, there is an element to drafting a good team. I will understand that, but there's so much that can happen and so many people that you play. And if we just go off points for, I understand that, but there's so much that goes into it. I mean, guys, what's the synopsis on that? I mean, where are we going at? Let's go to Derek.
Here's what I'll say, right? You can always turn a team around. If you're good, you may not be able to create a championship team, but you can always turn a team around. And I think I've been a good showcase for that this year, right? I didn't start off great, pulled some waivers, did some things, feel like I'm heading in the right direction. So you can avoid relegation. I think if you're, no offense to those in the chat that have faced relegation, Gabe, but the relegation years, that's a skill thing, right? But to win a championship, you need both, right? You need the luck and the skill coming together. Which is why I think Bowser will never win a championship because he'll draft good teams and then he doesn't do anything about it. So I think that the second half is Uncle Joe's got that little brother syndrome, Gabe. You wear it as well. You come in, you're a feisty one, Gabe. We all know it. You come in, you trash talk, you smack. And so it's just that youngest brother syndrome. You can't ever shake it. You guys both have it. That's where the arch enemies come in. You guys are like two negatives on a magnet trying to connect.
I will say, yeah, toxicity is directly linked to are you the youngest sibling? So Uncle Joe, Gabe, Dan, got a few of them in here. I think the toxic traits are inherent there. Is fantasy luck? Absolutely. I think Derek made good points. You can always pivot and work on things, but I think a lot of it comes down to just who's lucky week to week. I will say, yeah, there are some people, Bowser, you might want to call him the easy bake oven. He kind of puts it together and throws it in and just waits to see what happens.
But here's the thing about Bowser. I mean, Bowser has a pretty solid running back core. I mean, I think he picked up Kyron Williams. Did he pick up Kyron Williams off waivers? If he did, that was a really good pickup. Dude's benching Joe Mixon right now. I mean, not to put that out there. If we could trade efficiently in this league, there would be more opportunity for a team like Bowser. But the problem is we're getting stuck on the trades. He put it out there in the chat. All I'm looking for is a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3. And no one even offered him a trade for Joe Mixon. I mean, I think that's pretty wild, but I don't want to hint on that too much, But yeah, I mean, what else? I mean, Matt, you partake. You don't do a ton of the smack talk, but you jump in and you'll smack talk Dan occasionally. I mean, what do you think? Is Uncle Joe the villain of this league? You think, or?
I wouldn't say he's a villain of the league, though. I think that maybe it just hits you a little bit harder because you're getting out little brothered, and he's got the veteran status on that. He's just a generation ahead of you, which means that you should probably be quicker than he is, but he does have experience on you. So okay. Yeah, he's got the toxicity, but it's very focused. And I will actually maybe slightly disagree if fantasy is actually luck. I think that there's something to the fact that the NFL could be rigged a little bit, and that they knew that Nick Chubb was supposed to bust his knee out like that.
Yeah. DeMar Hamlin did not like his script.
There. I like to count on Lorenz for conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Any more conspiracy NFL topics? I mean, man, Nick Chubb's script, Aaron Rodgers' script was a pretty interesting script too when he received that.
We all 6 plays? Screw up our lines, man. It just happens. But it's sometimes you just got to know. You got to have that insider trade deal.
So
no, that's fair.
So speaking of scripts, I mean, the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift script is playing out nicely. 400% jersey sales. Nice little commish.
It is. I mean, it seems to be official. I mean, she was at the game. I mean, Patrick Mahomes just absolutely just butchering the other team by throwing a touchdown to Travis Kelce just to really put the nail in the coffin, just for him to get the Rizzler in price. And I mean, it seems to be official. Could we see a new Taylor Swift song about how he was a tight end, I was in the box seats, something like that? I don't know. Should I do a whole cover? Maybe, you think? A future there if I get relegated to work on?
Go for it. I was glad tight end didn't go any further than it did, but
all right.
Will the breakup song feature a music video with Kyle Pitts? Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Bowser did get Kyron Williams on September 13th for 13 fab
on waivers. Okay, so we got to give Bowser a little bit of credit, and there's a lot of opportunity for Bowser to continue to work up. But let's move on to our next topic. We chatted about it a little bit, but I want to go back. I mean, let's look at Corey's team one more time. Corey is somehow winning games, and we've kind of hated on Corey's team all season after the auto draft, but I mean, dude put up 120 points. I mean, I guess he is riding that Miami train, but let's just go one more time. Do you think Corey's team will continue to win? Yes or no? Let's go down the line. Derek.
Yes, but an auto drafter has never won the belt ever.
Okay. Matt.
I think he'll keep winning a few, but I think it's going to be short-lived.
Okay. Cam.
I think he'll go 50 win percentage down the stretch.
Well, let's is there a way I could look at Miami's upcoming games? Is this the schedule?
Yeah,
okay, so let's think this through here. I mean, I mean, from a defensive
week 4 is going to be probably a loss. Week 5 is going to be a win. Week 6 could be either or. Carolina's got a good D, but their offense can't stay on the field. 7's going to be hard. I think putting Philly as the eighth easiest defense is a misnomer. Just bad Yahoo rankings. New England's got a great defense, so he's going to hit a hard stretch. And then what's he going to do week 10? That's a loss. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you've only got a few bench spots, and you've got 3 guys that you're going to be putting on the bench.
And here's the thing, right? I mean, not to be that guy, but Mostert kind of has some friendly competition in the space. I mean, what was his name? Is it A-Chain, R-Chain? What was it?
A-Chain.
A-Chain. I mean, dude looked.
Well, and Jeff Wilson's coming back. Jeff Wilson's coming back soon.
I mean, there's a lot of contention in that space. I have Mostert in another league, and then he hasn't really even seen Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's kind of lucked his way, but he hasn't really seen what Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in the same draft looks like yet. So I don't know. I don't know about Corey's team, but again, he keeps proving us wrong. So maybe there's something there that I'm not seeing.
If they win 70-20, he's going to win. But if it's a slow game, if they go a quarter without scoring, which is possible, that's a quarter where he's not going to be scoring.
And if we go back right now, does Tyreek Hill go number 1 overall? Knowing what we know now, is Tyreek Hill go number 1 overall?
I mean, probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm putting him over Christian McCaffrey. I'm putting him over Jamar. I'm putting him over Eckler. I'm putting him over Bijan. I mean, he went 7th, 8th, something like that.
Will, is Kyler Murray even worth keeping? I mean, do you really think after they beat after they won without him against the Cowboys, sorry, Lorenz, that Kyler Murray will just get a starting spot when he doesn't even know the playbook?
That is his problem, right? He has 3 very mid-tier. I mean, Daniel Jones might be having his worst season ever. Baker Mayfield. I mean, listen, I'm a huge Bakester fan, but
you're progressive.
Yeah, but he's not that guy. I mean, this is an opportunity for him to make a trade for a mid-tier quarterback and maybe another running back. But we don't know with Corey. He's just not, and again, he's not using his fab correctly. It's another opportunity where he's not using his fab correctly. So we'll just have to see what moves he makes. I think there's potential for him to fix his team. If he can get Jalen Waddle to someone else and pick up a decent quarterback, I think there's potential for him to stay alive and not. I don't think this is a championship team, but I don't think this is a relegation team by any means of that. All right. Anything else to add on that team before we move on to the next topic?
No, I mean, we're coming up on 50 minutes, so I don't know how much.
Yeah, let's finish it out then on the last couple things here. So, oops. I throw this in here. Guys, am I going to get relegated? I mean, I'm 0-3. I've tried to make some changes. And Chris Olave and Amon-Ra and, my wide receiver space is letting me down. I have Lamar who's being inconsistent, and I have Bijan who is super promising, but it just seems like a coaching issue. Just can't get the points that he needs. I did have a good pickup on 4, but now I have Breece Hall option. I mean, guys, is this the downward trek for me? I mean, I don't know. What are the thoughts there?
I mean, I think it all comes down to the tourney, right? I mean, I don't see you qualifying for playoffs. I'm sorry. I think there's just some really good teams out there for you to you would have to basically win out. And I think that's going to be really hard, right? We're just being honest here. But I'm in the same boat, right? But I think you've actually got some really good things going into you for the relegation tourney. I think Bijan is going to peak towards the end of his first year, which I think will help you. I think guys like Chris Olave are going to be fighting for a playoff spot or a wild card spot in that division because it's a pretty easy division. Same with Lamar, right? They're always fighting at the end. So you're going to have a lot of guys, Detroit, same way, right? That coach, even if they're not going to play for draft picks ever. You've seen that when they beat Green Bay. Like they will fight until the last play. So I think you got a team that's going to come around. Get rid of Kyle Pitts and upgrade there, but I think everyone else is coming around.
My last 2 cents for the pod. Top fantasy scorer of all players in our league, Kirk Cousins.
Huh. He's the top fantasy scorer right now over Tua in that position?
Yep, 78.85 to 78.06 for Tua.
He's a
Kirk
consistent
Cousins,
boy.
number 1 overall.
Okay. Well, that's Cam's 2 cents. I wondered because, Zach is starting. He has both Kirk Cousins and Tua on his team. And maybe that's an opportunity for Corey to reach out and try to get Tua. I mean, really go all Miami all the way, baby. It'd be a pretty crazy team. Yeah. Matt, what do you got to leave us with? What do you have to say?
I don't think you're going to get relegated. I think that there's not because of the trade that you made, but because I think there's plenty of other people that have to get relegated first. I don't think we see a double relegation yet. I think there's a lot more to be said about that.
Hope you're right. Derek, what do you have to say to end us out?
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little smack. Madison, man, I always find a way to beat you. Just going to say it out there. When it matters most.
Okay. I'll end with this. I see a lot of upside on my team, and I know I've been saying this, and I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, guys. I mean, listen,
don't do it.
Lamar is not consistent. I understand that, but guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, these are guys who have not hit their stride yet. These are guys who last year who were popping off, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. Jameis Winston's going to come in, and he's going to sling that ball, baby, and he's going to go to Amon-Ra. It's going to happen. They're going to connect in the end zone. And, dude, I've got 90 fab right now. Lorenz has put me back in play. I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to get that wide receiver 3 spot filled, and I'm going to pick up some players. You're going to see it, and you're going to bid on those players. And it's not going to happen, man, because I'm going to lock that down. I'm going to burn all 90 of that fab. If that's what it takes, all 90 of that fab's going out next week. And, guys, let me say a couple more things, and I'll end this pod. Bijan is going to pop too. Like, it's going to happen. This dude is on fire. I don't care what anyone says. Atlanta's actually looking kind of good. They're winning games. Jerome Ford, dude, everyone doubted me. Everyone said he wasn't a good pickup. This dude, he had barely any catches. He had barely any runs. This dude still put up 17 points. And now I got Breece Hall as the potential option. Kyle Pitts, okay? Listen, I understand it's Kyle Pitts, but come on, guys. This dude is good. He's on a rookie contract still. He's a young guy. Like, this dude is athletic. And, guys, Tennessee's so bad. Nick Folk's going to kick a ton of field goals, and New Orleans defense is solid. Like, I don't get what the missing piece is, but I'm going to fix it. Things are going to happen, and, like, let's trade. I got White on my bench. I got Dalvin Cook. I got Breece Hall. Like, I'm willing to make some moves here if necessary, but that's all I want to say. I think there's room for opportunity here, and I'll close it out with this. We have 2 amazing guests. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Derek. Some great add-ons to the pod. They might be coming back. And Cam, I got a little gift for you before we break ways. I got a little something for you. You know, it's not his birthday, but I gotta show a little love. I mean, the eBay jerseys are back, boys. It's like,
eBay.
What do we got here? We got a little.
Ooh.
This is a solid jersey.
Brian
Solid jersey on
Araxo.
eBay.
He's no joke.
Yeah, man. I mean, I gotta hook it
Solid
up,
win.
and there's more jerseys to be had, guys. There's more jerseys to be had on the eBay. I browse it, and there's some good stuff on there. So you never know who's gonna get the next jersey. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna close it out here. I really thank everyone for hopping on. If I'm 0-4, there may not be another pod, at least hosted by me. I don't know how much longer I can go on. I'm barely fighting as it is. So thank you guys for joining on. Have a great night. We'll see you hopefully in the next pod. All right.
All right.
All right.
ya.
Bye, everybody.